People, we're back here again. We're going to report and react to what Alex Cook has said about Liverpool's Isak news. Let's dive straight into it. Make sure you are smashing the like, subscribing to the channel on the road to 800. So let's dive into Anfield sector post that what Alex Cook has had to say about Isak to Liverpool. Newcastle are braced for a major assault from Liverpool for Alexander Isak. Isak features prominently on Liverpool's lists of targets, even if Mo Salah stays. There are players Liverpool could be willing to bring in to negotiations. That could be an interesting one. Now, we know that Newcastle, now we don't know the exact price that Newcastle would want, but from reports and just it's not really hard to predict that Newcastle will probably want 120 million, 150 million for Isak. Are Liverpool going to pay that kind of money? No. Now, where I think it could be really interesting if where Liverpool decide to bring players into negotiations. Now, we saw last summer when we was linked with Anthony Gordon, Newcastle said, like, look, if you pay us this chunk of money for Anthony Gordon, but we want Juro Kwanzaa in return. And obviously Liverpool denied that and they didn't want to do that. Now, Liverpool could swing that back on them and do that this time around for Isak. Now, what kind of players would Liverpool be willing to offload? For me, I think Jota could be one. You know, good forward, experience. He's not really had a good season at Liverpool, but we know what Jota is capable of and we know the attributes he has. And to be fair, with Jota this season, it's not necessarily his injury problems have really caused him for this season, because his injury problems this season haven't been nowhere near as bad as previous seasons. So I feel like maybe a new scenery, a new environment, it could be better with him if he has that big summer rest. You know, he could come back stronger next season. Now, we've seen that with players in the past, so we can't rule out Jota. Darwin Núñez could be one, you know, out and out striker. You say what you want about him, but Newcastle with the high line and everything, I feel like they could potentially play to Darwin Núñez's strengths. With Anthony Gordon as the creative winger, he can create chances for him. Newcastle do create a lot of chances. And I feel like the style of football Darwin Núñez could potentially suit. So there's two names. They could be players in other positions as well. So it's not necessarily the attacking options that Liverpool need to put forward. They could put forward a centre-back. We know Newcastle have had problems in defence. So if Liverpool, for example, go and get Dean Huijsen, we could say, like, look, here, Newcastle, here's 80, 90 million plus like a Joe Gomez within that deal. Now, I feel like player money plus a player, those sort of deals in the past can be quite difficult to like do, as we've seen with other clubs do them in the past. We've seen deals potentially collapse, and just things within and around the deals, it kind of goes to wrong. I feel like Newcastle could potentially be interested in one of our centre backs. They could potentially be interested in some other areas. I feel like another area, Kelleher. I feel like Kelleher could be a real good name, because I think, do Liverpool, you know, go and sell Kelleher this summer? You know, that could be an interesting one. You know, if Liverpool decide to go and sell Kelleher this summer, because we know he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So, and obviously we know that Nick Pope is getting older. He's picking up a couple of injuries. I feel like Kelleher could be a good option. Like Joe Gomez could be a good option. Jota, Darwin Núñez, those sort of calibre names, players that are being linked away to leave the football club, we could put within a deal for Alexander Isak. So I do kind of agree with Alex Cook in terms of maybe the thinking behind it. But man, imagine if we saw Mohamed Salah, Isak, and let's say a Gakpo front three. Oh, please, man, please. please. I've always been consistent. I actually only think we sign Isak depending on if Mo Salah leaves, in my opinion, because there's just no other player in the attacking world of football that is probably viable and achievable to get, especially with our ownership and stuff like that. That could replace what Mohamed Salah does. Now, people will say, "What's okay? So why are you thinking about an Isak?" Mainly because player plus negotiations, depending on if Newcastle get top five. Sorry, I think that plays a massive part. I think the first blocking of us not getting Isak is if Newcastle get Champions League football, or if he thinks, you look, hey, Newcastle got Europa League here. We can definitely be one of the hot favourites to win that. We could win an European trophy. We've already won a trophy this season. We can build on next season. It all really depends on the player side, but there's obviously been talks and confirmation from Fabrizio Romano that Liverpool have spoken to the representatives and stuff like that of Alexander Isak. So he must be somewhat open to a move to some extent, because otherwise would Liverpool really try and chat to his representatives if they thought there was completely no chance of Liverpool signing Alexander Isak? We know what Liverpool are like when it comes to transfers and trying to negotiate transfers. But I'm going to pull this up here, Liverpool's wage bill. How much would Isak really cost? You know what? We're going to Google right now. Newcastle wage bill. How much is Isak on? Because I think that's going to be interesting as well. Isak is on 120k. And he's obviously only got, how many years has he got left? He's got 3 years left on his contract, so he's still got plenty of time on his contract. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think Isak is the hot favourite this summer in terms of for a big transfer move. So 120 grand. Who have we got around that 120 grand mark? Again, Darwin Núñez. You got the likes of Cody Gakpo, Szoboszlai around that mark. I feel like Liverpool would probably put Isak on 150, around 180. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold is on 180. He's going to be going. There's a lot of wage bill that's going to be freed up this summer because Trent's going to be gone. I think a couple of these men will be gone. Darwin and Jota, they'll be gone. I think Diaz, and maybe a Simicast. You know, even some of the fringe players like your Kelleher's. Endo's been linked with a move away, so the wage bill is going to be going down considerably this summer. So it's going to be really, really interesting what happens there on the personal terms. But I think, look, if Liverpool say to Newcastle, and say, look, here's 100 million plus Kelleher. Here's Kelleher and 90 million or 80 million. I think with a couple of needles in and around there, a deal could potentially get done. Like I said, regarding on the Nick Pope situation, it's going to be interesting. So, for Newcastle, make sure you do smash the likes, you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with LFC news, transfer news, football news, etc., etc. So Isak is the hot favourite in terms of who will be going this summer in the Premier League, the biggest transfer this summer. Or he could not go. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that is the news regarding Isak. Could Liverpool be using players to bring into the negotiations? Could it really depend on if Mo Salah stays or not? But we know that Liverpool do have a strong interest in Alexander Isak. It's not just Liverpool, Arsenal are there as well. But make sure you do smash the likes, you subscribe to the channel. Will Isak be going this summer? We are certainly going to find out.